On this episode of My So-Called Podcast, we go back to December 7th, 1990.
When Queen released Live at Wembley, or also known as Live at Wembley Stadium 86, and Tim Burton released Edward Scissorhands.
Hey, welcome to My So-Called Podcast. I'm Gary Linton.
Welcome, Gary.
Hey.
Welcome to My So-Called Podcast.
I was welcoming you. You don't welcome me.
Welcome to my podcast, Gary.
Groan.
How are you, man? Welcome to My So-Called Podcast.
Well, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Welcome you, the listener, to My So-Called Podcast.
Is there anybody else we should welcome?
Well, let's explain what My So-Called Podcast is.
Oh, you want to do that first? My So-Called Podcast is a podcast where we go back to a week in the 90s and we talk about an album and a movie that were released that week.
That week.
Yep.
And this week we have faithfully done so.
Yep.
Where we're all in on the Queen nostalgia. We're listening to Live at Wembley, the final concert album, the final concert tour of Queen.
Okay.
With Freddie Mercury, and the documented concert there in the home base.
Yeah. Wembley. That's home. Not a lot of people know this, but Queen lived at Wembley Stadium.
Yeah, underneath it.
Yep.
In the
some say they haunted it.
Well, some say that they do haunt it.
Yeah.
I mean, the ghosts of Freddie Mercury's Live Aid performance. I mean, how could you go to Wembley and not think about it?
I've yet to go to Wembley and not think about it.
True, me too. This week, at the same week that this album was released in VHS format. In England. As Edward Scissorhands was released in motion picture theaters in limited release.
Limited release. That's right. In America.
Well, that's the way we do those. I don't make the rules. That's the way we do the podcast.
Exactly.
But we do have a guest.
Oh, yes, we do.
This week we have a guest. This week we have a returning guest of one of our most popular episodes. Justin Vaqueros here. Hi, Justin.
Hi.
Now you can talk.
I can talk, yes. Happy to be here and happy to find loopholes in the format of this show.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
We're
talking about a band that's very thoroughly a 70s and 80s band.
Right, for a 90s podcast.
Although, they've got some 90s rebirth.
Yeah, and trying to ride the coattails of a 2018 biopic about this band.
Yeah, I'm boycotting that, though.
Why?
We'll come back to it.
All right.
So that's what we're going to do, but to get us into that late 1990 mood. Wow, I was going to say 18 years ago. Nope,
28 years ago.
28 years ago, because our guest is 18 years old.
There you are.
That's about how old I am, too, Gary.
Yeah, sure.
Justin and I are contemporaries.
Rachel just came back from college. For this,
the first semester away.
Yeah.
I'm finished with college, but otherwise contemporaries.
Yes.
Yeah.
We finished trivia.
We did. We finished it.
All done.
Done.
So we're introducing a new segment this week called Trivia with the score restarted.
Okay. See, you didn't see that one coming, did you, Justin?
I did not.
Yeah. An old switcheroo. Since I won trivia, I'll ask you the first question, Gary.
Justin, you get to chime in if you know the answer to either of our answers. Feel free to contribute.
All right. Do I have to answer in the form of a question?
No, I will. No, you don't have to, but
I can.
Yeah,
certainly
cool.
can.
Yeah.
And you can feel free to help both of us out, or hinder both of us, or pick and choose, or just be an agent of chaos like the Joker. Whatever you want to do. You just don't light any money on fire.
Why not?
Well, just light your own money on fire.
Okay. I don't have any of that, though. I'm a college student, so...
Right.
That's
true. Well, Gary, I'm going to ask you the first question, and it's going to be about...
Can you start at the third question and work your way back?
Sure. Who died?
Oh. What a downer.
Is that the end of the question?
Exactly.
Who died?
It's like, who farted?
In 1990?
Gary, this is a trivia question from 1990. Who died and made you president? Who died just hours after Elton John dedicated Candle in the Wind to him at Farm Aid?
Justin, do you know? You have any idea?
I don't. I really don't.
It's a little boy. It was a little boy, I think. He had AIDS. I don't remember his name, though. Little AIDS boy?
His last name's a color.
Oh, yeah. Ronald Fuchsia?
Good old Ronnie Fuchsia.
That's right, little Ronnie Fuchsia.
That's right. It is Ronnie Fuchsia. No, it's Ryan White.
Ryan White.
Ryan White. The Ryan White story.
I didn't remember.
Yeah.
Thanks for the hint, though.
Yeah, I was helping you out.
I don't think of white as a color.
Oh, it's all of the colors.
The absence of color.
No, that's black.
No, painting. White's the absence of color.
He's getting deep here.
Yeah.
No, what?
So in light, when you're talking light, white is all the colors. But if you're talking painting, it's no color. Black's all the color.
It would make sense if Bob Ross was saying it.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay. I don't think you're right.
Are you saying like that?
So if you're painting a canvas,
right,
and you put all the colors on there, you're going to get white.
All of the paint.
Yeah.
What is that?
Come in.
The neighbors above us.
Yeah. Right, yeah.
Well, I'm ready for...
That's our,
What we usually do next is you ask me a trivia question.
I can do that. I can probably pull that off. I didn't know if we were still talking about...
Or we could spin the prize wheel.
Yeah. We'll do I'm looking for a pop culture question. I'm scanning it real fast. I'm not seeing one. So I'm going to go with, what phrase is a fast-typing cyber chatter shortened to IMHO?
Oh, that would be, in my humble opinion.
Did you want to ask Justin?
Do you think that's right, Justin?
I haven't used that ever, so yeah.
What? It's already gone out of style?
It has, yeah.
Oh, no. That's right. Yeah, in my humble opinion.
They just use emojis these days. And GIFs.
Yeah, that's true.
The abbreviations have to be the 3 words. Or 3 letters, rather.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
You don't do rolling on the floor laughing?
On special occasion.
ROF.
Raffle.
Yeah.
That always makes me think of Rolf the dog.
Right, yeah. He's a mean keyboard player.
What Arnold Schwarzenegger blockbuster boasts a 3-breasted stripper on Mars?
Justin, do you know the answer to that question?
Get your ass to Mars.
Yeah.
Total Recall.
Total Recall. I totally recalled the answer to that.
That's correct.
Yep.
You both totally recalled
We
that.
did.
If that's not the right answer, then what the hell is it?
That's right.
We could do this all day.
We could.
I don't want to. What quirky TV series featured an FBI agent who liked his coffee black as the midnight without a moonlight?
Oh, yeah. That's Agent Cooper. Agent Dale Cooper. From TV's Twin Peaks.
Oh, yes. That's it. That's correct.
What number did Michael Jordan sport for an Orlando game after his Bulls jersey was stolen?
Famously wore number 23.
For an Orlando game.
Oh, okay.
I guess he was playing...
The Orlando Magic down in
But he
Orlando.
must have been playing for the Bulls at this time.
Yeah.
But he had to sport a different jersey.
Right. Do you have a guess? What do you think?
Okay, I don't know.
Okay.
402.
No, don't. That's not our answer.
It wasn't.
That's not our answer. I'm going to go 32.
32?
Yeah.
Oh, that would be a good guess. The answer is 12. I don't really know why anyone would know that.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a big Jordan head.
Yeah. Is that what they're called?
Yeah, I think, I think airheads.
Airheads.
Because,
nice.
You know how I got there?
Because he's Air Jordan.
Yep. That's it.
Or
I thought it's not as clever as I thought.
Because most people who are Michael Jordan fans also are big fans of the Adam Sandler movie Airheads.
I kind of think of it as a Brendan Fraser movie, but okay.
I think of it as a Steve Buscemi movie.
That's right.
And also people who enjoy Michael Jordan's basketball playing enjoy Airheads candy.
Yeah. All right, so
here we go.
Last question. What Cuban-born singer had 2 8-inch steel rods implanted to steady her spine after a tractor-trailer rear-ended her tour bus?
That would be Gloria Estefan.
That
turned out more than the rhythm was going to get you.
Yep.
It was going to be a tractor-trailer.
That's a 3-1.
3-1.
3-1. I don't like it.
Rhythm
Justin, you're really bringing me down.
Rhythm is gonna get you.
You didn't really help me at all.
No, I didn't.
No.
The rhythm is gonna get ya.
It truly will.
Tonight.
You can't run away from the rhythm. It will get
Oh,
you.
hey, oh, hey.
The next segment of my so-called podcast is we like to set the
Oh,
stage
hey, oh, hey.
for the album by telling you what else was out on the charts.
And I'll tell you, it's hard to find on the old interwebs, but I made it happen this week. The album charts. So you want to know what the top 10 albums were, Justin?
I do. I'm on the edge of my seat right now.
Good.
You better sit back in that seat. You might fall off. That's just me being cautious.
Number 10, Listen Without Prejudice, Volume 1. George Michael. George Michael's follow-up to his Faith album.
That's Freedom on there. Freedom 90.
Freedom 90.
When was that song released?
This year.
Oh, 2018?
No, the year that we were going back to.
Oh, 1990.
Number 9, Bette Midler, Some People's Lives.
Is that the... no, that was from the Beaches soundtrack, right?
Imagine that From a Distance would be on this one, maybe.
Ah, yes.
From a distance.
That's that
The
song.
earth is blue and green, and
I didn't know she was an astronaut.
Yeah, it's her homage to Space Oddity.
Right. Oh, okay. I see.
Number 8, Wilson Phillips with their album Wilson Phillips.
Oh, with the smash hit, Hold On. Right?
I know that there is pain, but you take free from the pain, break free from the chains.
That's nice.
Number 7, previous My So-Called Podcast, AC/DC with their album The Razor's Edge.
Razor's Edge. Yeah. With,
Dum dum. Dum dum.
I like to, like, whenever there's a thunderstorm, I'm always like, wait.
Yeah.
And I gotta go get that song on.
Whenever I'm watching a Michael Bay movie and like stuff's crashing and all this kinds of action is happening, I like it when that's in the movie.
Oh, yeah, which it happens a lot.
Well, I'm in good luck then. Number 6, ZZ Top with their unfortunately named Recycler.
Oh, yeah, that is unfortunate.
It's pretty stupid. And
because it's like she's got gams. She knows how to use
every guy crazy for a guy that wears nice clothes.
Yeah. That's it for yep. That's it. Recycler.
Number 5, Paul Simon's follow-up to Graceland, The Rhythm of the Saints.
I don't remember anything from that one.
Featuring the song Obvious Child. That's a good song. Yeah, The Rhythm of the Saints actually is a pretty good album.
Yeah. Okay, I'll take your word for it.
Number 4, Mariah Carey's debut album, Mariah Carey.
Oh, that really sets the stage for a long and torturous career.
Yeah, a lot of ups, a lot of downs, a lot of ins, a lot of outs. She started off the 90s with her first album, so she's a real 90s person.
Yeah, she is.
Number 3, Whitney Houston's album, I'm Your Baby Tonight, featuring the only hit from that album, I'm Your Baby Tonight.
Yeah.
Number 2, Please Hammer.
Don't hurt him. Don't hurt him. Go on, Hammer.
Don't hurt him.
Please.
Featuring MC Hammer and MC Hammer.
Yeah. That's how You Can't Touch This.
Do. And
Super Freak.
Pray. We got to pray. Pray.
Oh, yeah.
We got to pray just to make it today. Number 1, To the Extreme, I rock a mic like a vandal. Light up the stage, I wax a chump like a candle.
Hey, speaking of Queen.
Yeah. Oh, no. Vanilla Ice says that it's a slightly different bass riff than
right,
Under Pressure.
Yeah, it's an extra note. That was his whole lawsuit. It was an extra note. But he added that one before, like right after the little break.
I mean, yeah, he's right. Yeah. It's an extra bass note.
Doesn't matter. Under Pressure's a much better song. Although I do like that one line of the rap that I just quoted.
Good.
Light up the stage, I wax a chump like a candle.
If you want to play a fun game at home, it's you make a playlist on Spotify that's 5 tracks of Under Pressure and then 1 track of Ice Ice Baby, and you hit shuffle. It's called roulette.
Ah, yeah.
Although it's still a little too much Queen. A little too much Under Pressure.
Well, and you can do the live version of I Was Happy to Hear That when we were listening to Under Pressure, or live at Wembley. I was like, oh, we're doing Under Pressure.
Yeah.
I was expecting, hey, ladies and gentlemen, David Bowie! But he didn't do that.
Hello, it's me, David Bowie.
Bowie's in space.
Dance, magic dance. Jump, magic jump. Under pressure. You know, it'd be a totally different Labyrinth if it would have been Freddie Mercury. Just imagine the crotch on those pants if it had been him.
Oh, I am.
Aren't we all?
Yeah.
What do we do next?
Well, we go and open up the conversation about Live at Wembley 86, right?
Oh, yeah. 86.
Yeah.
I think in America they called it Live at Wembley Stadium because they couldn't assume that dumb Americans knew what Wembley was.
Yeah, I didn't.
You
I didn't know. No, I didn't know what it was.
Really?
I was like, what is it? Is it Wembley Arena? Wembley Coliseum? What is it?
Wembley College? But we start with an either-or question.
Yep.
Our guest could ask us one. You could ask me one. I could ask you one.
Nope. I would ask either Justin could ask or I'm going to ask Justin. Do you have a question?
Oh, yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
Go ahead and ask me.
Okay, all right. So I'm going to throw this out that Queen's Live at Wembley Stadium is a live album. It's a double album with a lot of their hits on there. So either this is the album that you, as a Queen fan, this is the only album you need, or you'd want a different album as if you were on a deserted island. You see what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying.
Before you answer, remember the Tutti Frutti cover on the second disc.
I had an answer, but shoot.
No, I threw your whole world into because that's not available anywhere else.
Yeah.
You're right. I think ultimately I would have to go with, honestly, a non-live album.
Yeah, okay.
Not to say that I don't enjoy their live albums and their performances, which I don't enjoy live albums of most people, but just the variation that they do in the live albums is something that I think, whether you like it or not, just should be listened to at some point, to compare to. But I think I would have to say one of their studio albums just... right.
Yeah. I would go with I would have used a loophole and called their greatest hits one album, and that would have been my
but they have 2 greatest hits.
I think they have 3.
Classic Queen,
right?
and greatest hits, and yeah.
Yeah.
So it's tough to pick a Queen album, just one Queen album.
It is. Yep.
I mean, number one is definitely the Flash Gordon soundtrack, but then number two,
I would go Highlander.
Right. Well, it's
a
the kind of magic is the Highlander soundtrack. That's actually the album they were promoting on this tour because One Vision, A Kind of Magic, and Who Wants to Live Forever are the singles off of A Kind of Magic. All Highlander related lyrics.
That's true. Yep. Who Wants to Live Forever? Christopher Lambert, the Highlander.
He doesn't want to.
Oh, that's right.
They play that during the montage where his wife grows old and dies in the Scottish Highlands.
Right.
Yeah.
So, this is the first time I would...
You guys want to talk about Highlander some more?
No. I listened to this album. Justin, had you heard this album before?
It had come up on like a Queen shuffle before, but I hadn't listened to it in full, and I listened to it in full for this one.
I took a dance class in high school to learn the Queen Shuffle.
Okay.
Wow.
And,
it's a modified bear shuffle.
Right. I think I've seen it in Fortnite.
Yeah.
So.
I do the Queen Shuffle. You're holding that microphone with the stand connected to it. He's using at Wembley, and you have really tight faded jeans on, and you just sort of pretend like the microphone is a phallus, and you bend over towards the crowd.
Did you watch any of this video?
What I watched was the legendary Live Aid performance from '85, also at Wembley.
Okay.
Which was 21 minutes of pure gold, supposedly.
Supposedly. So it wasn't.
Well, it's got a reputation for being one of the greatest, if not the greatest, live performances of all time, which I think, is clearly extreme hyperbole.
Yeah,
it certainly. There's a lot of articles online that do say like that's what that is, and it is a sort of magical rebirth for them. And they took that. A lot of the famous people who were playing the 16-hour show just sort of came in and did 20 minutes of whatever, but they had been rehearsing for 3 days on this tight 20-minute set, and they pretty much stole the show with their they did like a lot of songs in 20 minutes. It's on YouTube. You can watch the whole thing.
Was Bohemian Rhapsody included in?
They
started with that.
Started with the Bohemian Rhapsody,
the most streamed song of the 21st century, I guess.
Really?
It was, recently declared.
Yeah, I actually...
Good on you, Queen.
I actually noticed that. I was bopping around on Spotify that it's like almost 700 million Spotify plays, which is... That's a lot more than what I usually listen to. Like, I listen to some indie stuff where it's like, 25,000 plays or whatever. They were huge. Justin, how did you get into Queen?
How did I get into Queen?
Justin's wearing a Queen t-shirt.
Well, I guess,
yes.
Once Freddie Mercury passed, they had an opening. You auditioned. That's how you got into Queen.
Well, they saw YouTube videos of you performing with your Queen cover band.
That's right. What would the Queen cover band be called?
Princess?
There you go. Yes. Her Highness.
Actually, probably it would be called like
We Will Rock You,
Hammer to Fall, or
I thought of one that was like, it's one of their songs, Princes of the Universe.
No, that's pretty.
That'd be a good.
Yeah. One Vision. Yeah. There you go. Just go with One Vision.
Tutti Frutti.
No. Never mind. Tutti Frutti.
That'd be your Queen /
that's
Richard
what happened.
cover. Yeah,
that's what happened. They went, okay, you're not particularly like crazy or like any good, but you're the only band that auditioned that has the name Tutti Frutti. So
right.
Welcome aboard.
No, not to throw you off.
You know what we're about.
How'd you get into Queen?
Well, my mom.
How about A Night at the Races?
That's probably their best album.
Yeah.
Well, there's A Night at the Opera and A Day at the Races. Those are two different albums.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
So I mixed them up. A Night at the Races. That could be the cover band name.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right.
You like that?
No, I don't. But
apparently, they also on their demo tape they have a song "My Fairy King." That's pretty good. That's pretty good for a...
We've moved on from what's the name of the cover band.
Another name for the cover band.
No, we've moved on.
Oh, okay.
Welcome to the So-Called Podcast, where we just name Queen cover bands
That's
for
right.
about an hour.
Yeah, I could keep doing that.
I'm sure you could.
Go.
So I got into Queen because it's part of the rotation of music that my mom would play in the car, along with David Bowie, Elton John, Beatles, that sort of group, and they've just it's always been sort of a thing that it's like I can't remember a time where I didn't know who Queen was. I mean, and I think over the last, I guess, 18 years, they've just slowly became, I would say at this point, my favorite band.
Oh, wow.
Did you branch off from sort of the mainstream stuff that your mother probably played to getting into the deep cuts at a certain point, or you still sort of a greatest hits guy?
I did. I mean, that's the greatest hits is what I would listen to, but from that, I would look up, say, a song from the greatest hits, and then be taken to that album, and then listen to the rest of the songs that you probably wouldn't hear. I'd come up with other ones, but examples of that. But recently, I would say the song "Keep Yourself Alive," which was one of their first songs ever, has become probably one of my top 5 favorite songs with them.
Is that on their first album?
That could have been
Or is on Queen 2?
Highlander soundtrack also. Keep Yourself Alive.
Yeah. There can be only one.
That's right. Yeah, and so you're still enjoying Queen, and I'm surprised you say they're your favorite band. I was driving in a car with 2 10-year-olds in the back seat, and they were having a conversation where my son Liam was not of the impression that that Queen was the greatest band. He was saying the White Stripes were the best band, where his friend was saying, no, Queen's the best band. So
that's a conversation that probably has happened between grown adults.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So I was interested from live at Wembley Stadium. I felt like their version of Bohemian Rhapsody, did they play that live? I almost felt like some parts had to be pre-recorded.
Oh yeah, no, they would never play the operatic section.
Okay,
live.
Yeah,
they just they were asked about that, and they were just like, no, what's the point?
Right,
that was weeks and weeks and weeks of mixing audio, and it's there's no way you can.
That sounded too good to be is that a live version?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I went through that whole musical journey too, where I was like, how are they doing this live? To are they doing this live? To they're not doing this live.
Yeah.
Because it sounded amazing, and then I was like, it sounds too amazing.
Yeah, it was just being played.
So I guess they always did it that way, where they would do the first part, and then they would leave the stage, and that part, the
they
operatic
actually left the stage?
It would just be playing.
Oh.
And then on the third section, they would come back in and come back onto the stage. Because there's really no way to do that.
No, exactly.
It's not a live song. At Live Aid, he does just the first movement.
Okay.
It cuts to the next song. I don't know. I don't remember if it's Radio Gaga or Hammer to Fall or whatever he goes into next. Sort of like a big medley, but... I would say, nobody asked me, but I would say that Freddie Mercury's performance himself at that Live Aid 20-minute set is the most amazing thing to see. Just his engagement with the crowd. And the crowd is, I guess, almost 100,000 people. Yeah. And you can see him raising his fist, and all of the people in the stadium are raising their fist with him, and they'll tell them to sing something, and then we'll all sing it, and he's just got them all in the palm of his hand. It's just
he
really
was doing
impressive.
that on this too.
Yeah,
there was a part. What song was that where everybody was singing?
Isn't that?
No, that was him just doing. But they were.
Is that before? I feel like that's right before Under Pressure. Because I remember that, because I remember the song after that.
No, you're right. What Eric's talking about, that is part of Under Pressure. But yeah. But there was another song later where everybody was just singing. I don't remember.
Oh, I know what it is. It's Love of My Life.
Oh,
because he comes out with the acoustic guitar and he just lets them sing.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
There's a whole verse or chorus of a crazy little thing called Love that he does at the Live Aid that too, where they just sing.
I can't not hear, like, so when my 10-year-old was a baby, we got him this toy guitar, and it played a crazy little thing called Love. Yeah. And so every time I hear that, I'm like, oh yeah, Liam had that little guitar that played that song.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely woven into the fabric of pop culture now.
Yeah.
I mean, I was a big fan of Another One Bites the Dust when I was about 6.
Okay, yeah.
It was on the radio all the time.
Well, and it's got
that song.
How can you not? That bass line.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And that song is actually pretty unusual for Queen. Like the sound of that song. Like they don't really have any other dance tracks quite like that.
No.
You know? That song could almost be like a Michael Jackson song.
There was a commercial. Do you remember that commercial where it was like a guy in a hearse was playing that really loud, and he was like going by a graveyard? I think it was like a commercial for tapes, blank tapes, and they were like to get the best sound, and
like audio tapes.
Yeah.
This is from the 80s.
It was no, it was 90s.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, early 90s.
Wow. I guess everybody sort of knows through osmosis "We Will Rock You" and "We Are the Champions," but I didn't put together that was the same band as Another One Bites the Dust. And then I didn't really think about them very much at all until Wayne's World, whenever
I think
Bohemian
not
Rhapsody
a lot of people
happened.
thought about them until Wayne's World, yeah.
And Wayne's World caused Bohemian Rhapsody to be a radio-played hit again, where it would just play with all the new music. It'd be like all the new songs and then Bohemian Rhapsody, and a lot of people bought not the Wayne's World soundtrack, but they also bought Greatest Hits of Queen in that 1982.
I found it. I found the. I'll have to add the. I'll add a link to the commercial because there it is. Another One Bites the Dust commercial, and it's the guy. It looks like it was for CDs. But
anyway, I was one of the people that bought classic Queen because of Bohemian Rhapsody in the early 90s and got into them then, whenever I was 14. And I was like, oh, yeah, now I kind of put together who these guys are and their whole history of music. I don't think Queen is as... I think Queen is more respected now than they ever were when they were making music. Right?
I would say that, yeah. I remember, not to cut you off, but I remember going into high school, and there was a girl who I thought was very cool, named Wendy, but she was a big Queen fan, and I was like, what? How can you like Queen? What? Because at that time, they were just kind of like KC 95 bands.
Well, that's what you were into before you got into grunge, right?
No, not Queen.
But you were into Rolling Stones. And
no. I came into the Rolling Stones Queen back in college is where I discovered them. So.
And Pink Floyd.
Yep.
Okay, I'm getting it all together.
Yeah.
So, but did you get into Queen in college?
No. See, I never did.
Queen.
Yeah. But I do owe Wendy an apology because I was like, oh yeah, Queen's a perfectly good band to be into. So.
Yeah, what do you think it is that they weren't like darlings of the critics?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
I wonder if they were ever cool back then or not. They're certainly cool to like now, I think.
Yep. Yeah.
But I don't know. I think their rep is that they weren't. They were kind of pretentious or.
Well, yeah, they kind of comes across. I mean. Bohemian Rhapsody alone is kind of pretentious.
Yeah, but amazingly so.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
There's really no song like it.
No.
In popular music history, that so long and all the different portions of it, and it doesn't make any sense.
I mean, they were much more of a British band than anything.
Yeah,
that's the thing, because they kind of had America kind of did the thing where they don't like when they think something's weird, they just go, get that away. And so they kind of pushed Queen to the sideline or didn't let them do certain things. And so because they were stubborn enough to stick their guns and go, no, we're not going to change this. They just weren't, certain things just weren't part of American culture. But they were big enough in Britain that, they were, at least during the time of their run, their main run was, they were known as a more of a British band.
Yeah, there were albums that broke through into American popular culture, and they're certainly a huge band all over the world. But yeah, no matter what, they were huge at home. Although he's from Zanzibar.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Farouk is
Bolsara.
his first name. Yeah, changed his name. He died at the age of 45 in 1989, 1988?
91.
Oh, 91. So that means that when the band started, he was mid-20s. He had like a used clothing market that he was like selling at a bazaar, and he tried out for the band.
That is bizarre.
Because their lead singer left. And other factoids that I learned about them while I was watching documentaries is that even once he got enough money to fix his overbite, he never did because he was afraid that it would change the sound of his voice.
Oh, yeah. And I think, going back to Under Pressure and talking about his voice, I think he does a pretty good job of kind of sounding like Bowie when Bowie does his parts. You know, he's doing kind of both parts.
Yeah.
Even.
That song was on an album that was kind of a flop, where it was a lot of sort of more dancey music that they were trying to capitalize on the success of Another One Bites the Dust, and it wasn't that popular. It kind of got buried, and that song has had a real long shelf life where it sort of comes up again and again, and used in like 372 movies, I think.
I remember seeing the commercial, or not the video. That video got played on MTV. Yeah. I had MTV growing up. I don't know if you knew that.
Is that the video where Bing Crosby and David Bowie sing The Little Drummer Boy?
Yep, that's it. No, there's a lot of is
that the one where David Bowie is the Prince of the Labyrinth?
Yep, that's it. It's the one where David Bowie is singing about his China girl.
Is that the one where David Bowie is a vampire with Catherine Deneuve?
Yep. No, I think that's the videos where David Bowie is an alien who fell to Earth.
Is that the one where David Bowie is one outside?
One outside?
That's his album that came out in 1995.
Oh, okay.
Let's talk about Freddie Mercury's sexuality a little bit, guys.
Whoa, look at the time. Look at the time, Eric.
Do you think that Freddie Mercury could be Freddie Mercury and all of his Freddie Mercury-ness now and be closeted?
No.
No.
But I don't think he would need to be.
Right. He would not need to be.
Right.
I think it's fascinating that it was possible. Like, you watch this Live Aid thing, and it's like, that is a gay man. He is a gay man. And I think he's, like, almost dressing up in the costume of a gay man at that performance. He's wearing, like, really tight jeans. He's wearing a white T-shirt, like, sleeveless.
Yeah.
He's got a leather strap on his arm.
Down, too. Yeah.
It's all the way down, showing his chest hair.
Yeah.
His hair's slicked back. It's great. He's great. But he's very gay appearing.
Well, I think...
and so, like, 100,000 people were like, that's a straight man.
I think that happens. You know, Rob Halford of Iron Maiden.
Yeah.
Coming out... No, not Iron Maiden. What is that? Judas Priest.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know.
But he was such a sexual performer. Like, a lot of, like, his sexiness and, like, charisma and all of his personality was like the band. You know, at least live. I mean, I guess you could say people could write it off as like the androgyny thing, like Bowie and like stuff like that. But I don't know. It's just, I mean, really fascinating. It's like obviously a different era, but
right. And I think like what he did was like from what I've heard is that he was a very introverted person, like off stage, and so I think like he really came into his own like on stage, and that's where he kind of took all this like bottled up stuff. He sort of like released it, and he definitely was like more eccentric than anybody else at that time.
And even
I guess Elton John is analogous too.
Yeah. But even we're not bad for a poor Queens.
Well, he named the band Queen, and they were like, "What do you want to call it?" and all of them knew in the late 70s. He was out to them.
Sure. It'd be hard to be in a band with, I would think.
Especially given his offstage behavior in the late 70s. Yeah, I really... I had a real soft spot in the early 90s whenever I had the greatest hits stuff for the Highlander era stuff. I love the songs from Highlander. One of my favorite middle school jams was Who Wants to Live Forever.
And you're like, I do, Freddie Mercury. I do.
I can just imagine my family like hearing my door closed with me playing the cassette of that real loud in my bedroom, like jamming out to mid-80s Queen.
And you can imagine your family holding their heads in shame. And
just looking at their watches. He's going to college in 3 years.
Yeah.
I remember one time that I was slamming. I was like doing my homework or reading a book or something, and I was slamming the side of my bed, playing the drums along with I think Black by Pearl Jam.
Okay.
My dad just busted into my room. What the hell is going on in here?
Your dad busted in and said, "What's that noise?"
Yeah.
And you said,
I
Dad.
said, Dad, you're just jealous. It's Pearl Jam. And then he threw away my porno mags.
Yeah.
Favorite track on this album, guys?
Tutti Frutti.
All right, moving on. That's it.
What about the 9-minute guitar solo? Brighton Rock.
Yeah, he does that.
Yeah, Brighton Rock solo.
I don't know. I'm trying to think if there was ever a time when they just... Because that happened a couple times. Mm-hmm. They would do... Like, he would specifically do that solo from that song, and then they would just let Roger Taylor do a timpani solo as well. But, like, that song, I'm trying to think if that was ever, like, on a live set. Because that's a good song in its own. But...
I felt, I skipped that the first time around. I listened to this the first time, but I was like, I mean, I appreciate Brian May as a guitarist, but, I got to get through this listens.
The original Friday concert started at 4 p.m. with tickets costing £14. 4 bands performed in the following order: 1 In Excess, 2 The Alarm, 3 Status Quo, and 4 Queen.
That would be a good show. I mean, In Excess wouldn't have been able to do Devil Inside.
What would they have done at... I mean, they probably had their songs on Kick at that point, right?
I don't know. No, not 90.
Kick was released...
Or 86.
Kick was released October 1987, so you could assume that some of those songs were... in their repertoire.
That's true.
Although they were the first band, so it was probably hard to hear them.
They just did Listen Like Thieves.
Bunch of people like murmuring, trying to find their seats, etc. Right. Drinking, what do they drink there? Guinness?
Newcastle.
I think it's a good album. It's a good capturing of that sort of... It's basically an expanded version of that Live Aid set, with a lot of other hits and even some new music, Even just listening to it, you can really feel the power of the band's performance. And, I mean, I'm sure they were great to see live.
They made me want to... Listening to this made me want to watch them live.
Yeah.
So, I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, I highly recommend that Live Aid set.
All right, Eric, calm down.
It's good.
Calm down.
Justin, we have a rating system.
Okay.
4 stars would be a well-deserved classic status. 3 stars is it still holds up pretty well. 2 stars is that's why I haven't listened to this in a while. 1 star is we were young. What do we know?
How many stars would you give Live at Wembley
Stadium 86, the VHS tape?
I think I'm gonna go with 4 stars.
4 stars.
That's his favorite band.
That's true. Okay, you're right. That's good.
I mean, I would, as I said, I would prefer like a studio album, but like I never am bored by whatever they play.
Not even the Brighton Rock solo.
Not even the Brighton Rock
solo.
Tutti
Frutti.
I was.
You were on every note. You were hanging on every note.
Tutti Frutti. That's actually the reason why I wanted to pick this one. It's not, Queen, whatever. It's Tutti Frutti.
It's your mission in life to expose more people to that 1 minute live version of Tutti Frutti.
If you take anything away from this, it's Tutti Frutti.
I will take it away from this.
Yeah, I'd make a shorter album without that on it. Gary?
I'm going to give it 3.5 stars. It's not quite a 4-star classic, but 3.5. It's good.
Yeah, it's hard for me to give 4 stars to a live album.
Yeah.
I don't like those very much. I'll give it 3 stars. I think this band would be great to see live, and I think it...
In 86. Not Paul Rodgers and Queen.
No.
Maybe. It was probably pretty good.
I'm sure that... I would like to see Freddie Mercury live.
Yeah.
Any time in the 70s or 80s would be fine. Mm-hmm. They really were a studio band in a lot of ways, like really in the kind of prog rocky in that way.
Yeah.
So we have 3 stars.
3 stars. All right.
So that's the first half of the podcast.
Yep. We're going to come back and talk about a movie that was released the same week.
That's right.
Yep.
At the VHS of this concert came out in England.
Same week that this was released as a VHS in England.
Tim Burton's
Edward
Scissorhands.
Oh, right. That's it. Not Edward Wood.
Yeah. There's some overlap. We'll talk about it. We'll get into it. You hang in there.
You don't have to hide from me. I'm as harmless as cherry pie. Those are your hands. Those are your hands. I think you should just come home with me.
Hi, welcome back to my so-called podcast. We're going back to December 7th, 1990 this week. You just heard the trailer to Edward Scissorhands from Tim Burton et al. And we just got finished talking about Queen's live at Wembley VHS tape.
Right. And Justin, you chose these pieces of media. Why? What made you? Yeah. What made you decide to do Queen and Edward Scissorhands?
I was looking for 2 that I could really kind of connect with.
Okay.
And I would come up with that's a really good album, and then just absolutely nothing came out that week, or vice versa.
I've been there, man.
Yeah. So I know Eric had alluded to the fact that Queen had a new album out, the Freddie Mercury biopic was coming out, kind of running on the coattails of that, and this is from the same... Edward Scissorhands is from the same screenwriter as Welcome to Marwan.
Yeah, that's true. That's their first screenplay in forever.
The Welcome to Marwan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So. It's been a while.
Yes.
So yeah, we're current.
Yep.
The 90s lives. But anyway, you have a connection to Edward Scissorhands, Justin?
I wouldn't say... right. I think this is just a movie that I really enjoy.
Yeah.
Honestly, it was just
4 stars.
Do you remember?
All right.
Yeah, you want to get that out of the way?
Yeah.
Do you remember when you first saw it?
I do. It was one of those. I have times like this where I just kind of think about very famous movies, and I realize that I haven't watched it, and this was one of them. And it was one of those just Home Alone, put it on, and.
You watched Home Alone?
You watched it.
No.
Then you watched Home Alone, or did you watch Home Alone and then this one?
Every movie that I watch, I have to watch Home Alone before.
Okay.
You were Home Alone and you watched Edward Scissorhands.
I did, yeah.
So you were over 12 at least.
Yeah. Probably 14, 15.
Oh wow, not that long ago.
No, not that long ago.
But you must have known the image of Edward Scissorhands.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. You were familiar with the concept. Mm-hmm. Maybe had seen some scenes.
Yeah.
I was reading the IMDb, Wikipedia, whatever.
Go on.
And it was making me think, So apparently the studio, 20th Century Fox, did everything they could to keep images of him in his costume from the public's view while filming. And so it wasn't until they started promoting the movie that even just this costume and these hands and this hair and all this was even on display. You know, I admire the moxie of the studio executives that backed this film.
Well, I think, and we can kind of talk about that, but I believe, Tim Burton had just done Batman,
right?
So,
but they were backing this movie at 20th Century. Well, Warner Brothers passed, and then he took it to Fox, and they were backing it, and then he made Batman for Warner Brothers, and then after that he could have done whatever he wanted, but he still made this with 20th Century Fox. But they were from the creator of Beetlejuice back in this movie, and I guess Beetlejuice is pretty freaking weird. So, and that was a hit.
Yeah, that's more of the. As far as advertising goes, that is more of a this is the sort of Tim Burton you're getting into. Mm-hmm. Instead of just the superhero Batman movie. That one could argue it is a very Tim Burton movie, but also it's.
I think this is the most Tim Burton
movie. Right. It was toned down in comparison to all of his other stuff.
Yeah, this is probably the most.
This is the most Tim Burton movie.
Maybe neck and neck with Nightmare Before Christmas as being
that's
very
true.
Tim Burton-y. Mm-hmm. It's like one of his notebooks come to life.
Which is,
Whereas Edward the character is one of his notebooks come to life as well. Mm-hmm. But, the Ed Wood thing that you mentioned earlier sort of is an interesting thing to think of because, Begelas and the Hollywood monster movies, the Universal Monsters kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. And this owes a lot to the Universal Monsters kinds of things.
It's basically Frankenstein.
Well, it is Frankenstein, but it's an interesting twist. It's got, Beauty and the Beast elements, but it's also, he's sort of E.T.-ish, in a way, in the sense that he's an innocent.
Well, yeah. I don't... See, that's where you and I differ. I don't consider E.T. innocent.
Yeah.
He's guilty.
Oh, you're talking about E.T. too. The courtroom drama.
That's right.
Presumed E.T.
You took the hammer.
He took the umbrella and the speak and spell the forest.
And you smashed Gertie's brain in.
This summer, you'll say ouch.
That's pretty good.
What were we talking about? So what were your impressions? What was your thoughts before the movie and then after watching it? Was it exactly what you were expected, or?
No, I would say. Well, I maybe have a more of an interesting looking at or more modern look into this. Is that I knew Tim Burton from
bad movies.
Yes.
Just kidding. I don't want to put words in your mouth.
No, you're good. His more modern stuff. If I think Tim Burton and Johnny Depp, from my childhood, that's Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and that weirdness. And so I turned this movie on, and it's a very well done, story, and Johnny Depp isn't super crazy, woohoo, eccentric. The whole movie, this was him breaking away from the 21 Jump Street TV show. Mm-hmm. And so he's like, I want to do more dramatic roles, and he got this, and I think for me, this is my favorite performance by him. I think, giving it some thought, I've never seen him give it his all as much as he does in this movie.
Yeah, he's doing kind of a Chaplin thing with the. He's just like a silent actor, even with the makeup and everything, where he tries to do stuff with expressions and movement, and he stands very stiff like Chaplin, and he talks, but he probably says 30 words or 50 words in the movie.
I think it's somebody counted. It's 160 words.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah. So more than you'd think, but
But being the main star and having the film named after your character, you only say 160 words.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he's definitely it's definitely an amazing performance. I like him in Donnie Brasco as well. That'd be one of my favorite Johnny Depp performances. But yeah, something happened to both him and Tim Burton at roughly the same time, and yikes.
Yeah, see, Tim Burton, so we can talk about Tim Burton and how his career has kind of become a parody of itself or something like that. Yeah. So you get
it's
this...
a real behind the music.
Yeah, he has... So Edward Scissorhands is a story of a man who has scissors as hands. Done.
Right.
Told the story.
Well, he's not really a man. He's a mechanical man.
That's
he's created
true.
by Vincent Price up on the House on Haunted Hill.
Which is, that's actually like one of the great establishing parts where you're like, oh, this is the kind of movie we're in, is when Diane Weiss looks in her rearview mirror and sees this castle on the hill.
Right.
It's like, oh.
Right. But the metaphor is clear that, this is Tim Burton's way he saw himself in suburbia growing up. It's like as if he came from some other place that was just plopped right in the middle of suburbia. And the expressionistic thing is he's from a different place, but it's right there. And he has scissors for hands and crazy outfits and crazy hair. I'm sure his hair looked just like this in high school.
Well, yeah, I'm sure.
It still does look just like
this. Yeah. It's just the next Martin Scorsese.
It took almost 2 hours to get Johnny Depp into this get-up every morning shooting this movie. 3 months, 2 hours every morning.
That's dedication.
It's a funny movie.
Yeah, it has plenty of laughs.
And it's funny because if you were to look at the first 3 films of his career, you got
Pee-wee's
Big Adventure, and then Beetlejuice, and then Batman. Batman's kind of funny, but not really.
No, I think Batman Returns has a little bit more humor in it than
dark
Batman.
humor.
Yeah, but it's still...
Walken's great in that movie.
Right.
I love that movie. But Edward Scissorhands is really funny too. That's all I was going to say is that he's kind of a comedy director at the beginning of his career as much as anything. Effective comedy, like, Kathy Baker, she was one of the trivia questions from last week, and here she is stealing all the scenes she's in.
So Diane Weiss is an Avon lady. She's going door to door, and she ends up coming across Johnny Depp's Edward pretty early on. That's like within the first...
Jedward.
Within the first 10 minutes of the movie, right?
Yeah, you heard it in the trailer.
Yeah. So...
She brings him home?
Yep. And
she makes a project out of him, tries to put an Avon makeup on him to get
darn
rid of his
this
scars.
stuff.
It does not work. Some of the stuff I really liked was when she made him purple.
Yep.
One of the funniest scenes in that movie is, or back to like 2 things that we talked about, like the Chaplin bit and the humor in this movie. One of the best shots in this movie is where Winona Ryder comes home for the first time, and he's in her bed,
and he murders her.
Waterbed. Yeah. But it's where she goes outside and is screaming that like there's somebody in the room to her mom, and he just sort of kind of trots out.
Yeah, he's
like
walking
no
down.
words. Like he's just like, all right, I'll leave.
Okay. Totally dejected walking. Through
Yeah, just all right, I'll leave.
But that's also great. Alan Arkin's great there too because he just grabs him and turns him around.
Alan Arkin's amazing in this movie.
Is great. Yeah.
So is Diane Weiss. She's just adorable.
Yeah, I think all the performances are great.
Yeah, yeah, it's a great ensemble.
Fun fact for this, I'll tie it to a bit of a '90s thing too. There's a shot in the beginning of the movie when she brings him home, and they're driving through the suburb area, and he's like looking at all the houses for the first time. There's a kid who goes down on a slip and slide.
Oh yeah, and he smashes his face against the window.
No, it's just a little.
No,
it's
Edward.
Oh yeah, that's right. No, yeah, you're right. But the kid on the slip and slide is Nick Carter from the Backstreet Boys.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Oh well, that makes sense because this was filmed in Florida.
Yep.
The Backstreet Boys are a rock band from the state of Florida.
Right.
Winona Ryder performance. discuss.
Well, so she's actually, so let's go back and say she's the first character that we see as an old lady telling the
Shades of the Princess Bride,
framing the movie. It's told to her granddaughter, the Winona character. What's her name? Kim?
Yes.
Kim.
Yeah.
Yes.
Kim's telling the story as an old lady, the story of Edward Scissorhands about snow. But we don't actually see Winona Ryder until like 45 minutes into the movie.
Yeah. So I would like to give my 10-year-old daughter props because she asked me at bedtime after we watched this movie a couple days ago, how did Kim know the part about Edward in the back room of the salon?
Oh, yeah, right.
How did she know a lot of this stuff?
Right, well, he told her all.
Yeah.
When?
Yeah, well.
Well, he came to dinner, and he just, it was one sentence.
That's right, he did say this.
But cut back to them, she's just going into crazy detail with her granddaughter.
Yeah, exactly.
It's important to know about the snow.
Just imagine the granddaughter is like pulling the sheets over her head slowly.
You listen to me.
And then, Joe, she had this weird bustier on underneath her clothes. It was bizarre. And then she took me into the back room where she took all of her clothes off.
Right.
My youngest, my 7-year-old, really likes that line.
Oh, yeah.
I woke up the next morning and I was brushing my teeth and he came into my bathroom and he goes, and then she took me into the back room and she took all of her clothes off.
It's a good line. It's a good joke.
What do we think of Anthony Michael Hall's performance in the film?
I think he does a good job. It's kind of a different... No? You don't think so?
He's in a different movie, isn't he?
I think he's playing the character the way the character... I mean...
He's the heel.
Yeah. We gotta not like him. And...
I think...
and I guess he's kind of playing it. This is kind of the first role that he had. So I don't know if he did the Johnny Be Good movie before this, or if that was after this.
I feel like this is later on in his career.
No, after his change of coming out of John Hughes' dorkdom.
Oh, I see.
So,
I see what you mean. He's trying to make a name for himself post-dork. PD.
Yes. He's no longer the weird science, pretty in pink dork. He's
right. 16 Candles.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I see what you mean. But do you think he's overdoing it then?
Maybe a little bit, but in the context of this movie, where everything's a little off skewed, it works. I don't have a problem with it.
I feel like it would be nice if we had some indication of why Kim was going out with him in the first place.
Yeah. Well, and I think...
He seems like a totally awful person the whole movie.
Tell you, I like this movie a lot when I first saw it, and it's also a movie that I have a deep affection for. But rewatching it this time, they don't invest too much story in getting Kim and Edward, like... There's the scene where he's on the TV. He's kind of talking. He's at the TV show. Edward's at the being interviewed, and they're watching at home. And you see where he's like, "Well, do you have a girlfriend?" And Edward's staring at Kim, and that's kind of the first scene where it's like, "Oh yeah, they're gonna be in love," but we don't get any sort of hint of that before. I mean, I guess kind of hint, but
I mean. Devil's Advocate, you could say, I'm a big fan of the movie The Devil's Advocate.
Yes, okay.
I just wanted to say that.
Thanks for adding that.
The Devil's Advocate, though, I mean, you could say it's sort of geek wish fulfillment at its purest form anyway, right? He gets the girl because he gets the girl.
Well, right, and I'm not going to complain because this is a nice... hour and 40-minute movie, and so if you wanted to add more story to get Edward and Kim to show their budding relationship, that'd just add length to the movie. I mean,
their relationship is that of Kong and the woman. It's not... She respects his humanity. I mean, like, I can only buy that she loves him in that she loves him as a person.
Okay.
You know?
I think that's
like
supposed to be
Gertie
more than
loves
that.
E.T.
Okay.
And E.T. 3
Is before
Back in the Habit.
I was just say before E.T. takes her out to the woods.
That's right.
Brutally kills her.
That's right. E.T. has to go act as a nun in a convent because he's...
Harvey Keitel is after him because he used to be Harvey Keitel's girlfriend.
That's right.
He saw him murder somebody.
Gertie. I think that's
Gertie gets
established.
murdered in every one of the E.T. sequels. It's sort of like
right.
Kenny in South Park.
right.
You killed Gertie, you bastards!
Drew Barrymore collects another paycheck to die.
She did it in Scream.
She plays her whatever
That's true.
age she
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
Scream was originally set up as an E.T. sequel.
Good stuff.
We have fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Kim is a pretty thin character.
Well, right, yeah.
Compared to Winona Ryder's character in Beetlejuice, which is delightfully well-rounded. Mm-hmm. She's almost the main character of that movie.
Yeah, I wouldn't say so.
Yeah, so I guess she's the Tim Burton surrogate in that film, whereas Edward is the Tim Burton surrogate in this one. Mm-hmm. But I was going to say, he did a lovely thing in hiring Vincent Price at the very end of his career for this role, and it could have been sort of a look at that cameo kind of a performance, but it's a great little performance. I feel like that he was the perfect choice for the role, and the scene where he dies is some wonderful expression, acting like with no dialogue, just like you watch him die.
Yep.
It's really good still at that advanced stage. His last performance.
Well, and I think the part was originally intended for Vincent Price.
Perfect.
Yep.
Perfect. But if you think about it, right, then you got Ed Wood, which is sort of like Ed Wood's relationship with Bela is much like probably Tim Burton's relationship with Vincent Price must have been leading up to the filming of this movie, if you think about it. So connections abound.
Yep.
Ed Wood. That's a great movie, too.
Yep. We talked about it already.
It's a perfect... It's not a perfect movie. I think Edward Scissorhands is probably the closest to a perfect movie that he ever made.
That Tim Burton ever made?
Other than Beetlejuice. I would say Edward Scissorhands is probably the sentimental choice. It's certainly the best score.
Oh, yeah.
But I still think... I watched Beetlejuice like a year ago again, and that movie kicks butt. It's like top to bottom, like a really solid movie. Like... It's funny. It's got a great story.
I think though so Beetlejuice might be better, but like Edward Scissorhands is the most personal Tim Burton movie, and I think that kind of not all personal movies are going to be great, but I always feel like the movie is a little bit better when you see how personal it is for a filmmaker. I feel because that's that love is up on the screen most of the time.
Well, and sometimes it does not work. Like your passion project is sometimes and usually almost terrible. Yeah, like I've always wanted to make whatever. And
that's true. Well, I mean, and that's where I guess. I know what you're saying there, but
it definitely works here.
Yeah,
it's almost like an amazing alchemy that the physical comedy and the really kind of broad comedy of the suburban people that doesn't quite lapse into sort of like hatred of the suburban people. Like there's a love there for suburban dads. It doesn't just make fun of them. I think the Alan Arkin and Diane Weiss characters are really the saving grace of that, where like. They really are standard suburbanites, but they're very sympathetic, as opposed to the rest of the suburbanites that fall for him and then turn on him. I was thinking the difference between fame and actual relationships is sort of what you've got sort of mimicked there, which I think is probably something that Tim Burton was thinking about at this point in his career.
They even bring it out, again, when he says, he's getting interviewed, and they're like, well, I know a doctor that could, and Edward's like, well, I'd like to meet him, and the one lady's asked, well, you wouldn't be special then, you know, so.
Right. And Dan Weiss says he'll always be special.
Right.
Which is on the nose, isn't it?
Which is what Tim Burton wanted his mom to say, but she never did.
And then he zaps himself with his Scissorhands and falls backwards. Exactly. Slapstick comedy. And Anthony Michael Hall says he would give his left nut to see that again.
That's okay. So let's talk about that. About how he says he wishes he had taped it. And so this is clearly 90, you know, is because he's talking about VHS tapes. But then the cars and everything else, it's the time period is...
It's like the teenagers exist in a different time period as their parents.
Right, yeah.
Although his dad just got a new forehead VHS.
Right.
He got himself a bunch of new toys. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I like how they don't try to explain any of that, though. There's just a house on the haunted hill at the end of the cul-de-sac.
Exactly.
It just is there, you know?
Yep. And so Edward, though... Anthony Michael Hall tricks Edward into robbing his house. That's kind of when the movie turns, you know, and that's when everything starts... Because before he's just cutting hair. He's doing, what's he doing first?
Topiaries.
Yep. Then he's cutting dog hair. Then he's cutting human hair.
That's all very amusing.
Yeah. You know. What's great is Alan Arkin when he's listening to the radio. And then the next shot, he's in the lawn chair. And Edward, oh, you did us, Edward.
That's great, Eddie.
No, Kevin, don't rust him.
I thought there's a shish kebab.
It's just an expression.
It's a delightful movie.
It is.
But yeah, it gets pretty unpleasant once the town turns on him. I mean, it's Frankenstein. Although the first part of Frankenstein doesn't have all this amusing comedy.
Yeah, exactly. James Whale wanted to include it, but Universal was like, let's stick to the script.
Yeah. What do you think about the fact that what's Kim's boyfriend's name? Jim. Kim and Jim.
Yep.
Jim is killed in self-defense by Edward at the end of the film. I think, even as a young lad of 13 watching this as a rental from Blockbuster, it struck me as quite a change from the tone of the rest of the film. Yeah. Especially like when Jim's beating him to death with that rod.
Oh, yeah.
Thoughts?
Well, all right. I say it is a bit of a tonal change for sure, but they don't play it as just like now Edward Scissorhands is a stone cold assassin out for blood. No, it's like he kills him and then realizes, oh well, now I have to live my life in seclusion in my house on Haunted Hill.
Right.
Like he doesn't even try to like explain it or make an excuse for it or anything like that. Like he just accepts like he knows what he did. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I think it stays true to the character, at least.
I think it's a moment of truth. So he has these scissors for hands. Okay? And all through the movie...
You've lost me.
Okay. So...
I thought this was Edward Normal Hands. What have we been talking about?
No, but he decides he's always trying to not cut people. He's like, sorry. You know, but then at this point, after he hurts Jim hurts Kim, he's like, no, here, I'm using these as a weapon now, and I have these tools.
Right, he does have scissors for hands.
Oh, yeah. I just got the critic had Edward Plunger Hands was their show. Basically, it was him plunging a toilet, and he goes, please kill me. Jeez.
The critic.
The critic.
Yeah, I think I'm still confused by the tonal shift. I could make an argument for either side of it. I knew it was coming, obviously, this time, so it didn't bother me. Mm-hmm. And I told my kids it was coming so that it wouldn't shock them too much.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think of Beauty and the Beast, Gaston plunges to his death. I mean, it's
what spoiler? I haven't seen it.
Oh, it's the same story in the new one as it is in the animated one.
Oh, okay. I've seen the animated one. I guess.
I mean, in a fairy tale, somebody dying at the end is not unusual.
No.
But I mean, the Scissorhands. I mean, I think that the thing that gets me is that you're saying like the Scissorhands start off like you're thinking he's a monster.
Yep.
He's a horror monster.
Right.
And then the whole point of the movie is that he's not. And so the Scissorhands become whimsical. But then he becomes the monster that he... I mean, it's a bummer of an ending.
Yeah, because he's stuck
That's
up there.
I think that was the one thing that they wanted him to change.
Oh, I'm
That's
sure.
the movie. They did the... I mean, it was like 7 with David Fincher. They were like, can we just... Let's make that a little bit of a happy ending. They went, no, we're not going to make the movie if you don't let us keep it.
Not only is the end of the movie a total bummer, it ends with a quote that's even more of a bummer. For 7.
Okay. Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say the studio originally suggested, they were like, what if they go on a cruise to Aruba? That was the original suggestion.
I mean, I think I read that Tom Cruise wanted a happier ending.
That's right.
Edward Scissorhands.
Yeah.
He wanted to come in at the end and be like, hey, Edward, here's my convertible. Hop in.
He was going to bust in on Edward's book club and be like, I missed my wife. And Edward was going to be like, you had me at hello.
He's like, I brought you these hands.
So they're walking away and he's like, I feel the need for
For
speed. They high
hands.
five, but he stabs him in the hand.
And then cuts his hand off.
Yeah. I mean, it works perfectly. I wouldn't change it. And I'm not saying...
So, let me...
I mean, for him to stab him in the belly, it's definitely a change in tone from what had happened before.
Yeah. So, let me ask you this. I would change gears. So, did you bring this up because this is kind of a Christmas movie? Is Edward Scissorhands a Christmas movie?
I didn't even think of that when I picked this.
Okay.
But it can be considered. They're putting up Christmas decorations.
It's the big Christmas party for the climax.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the snow.
The snow is a big part of it. Yeah.
It was released in December, so that was obviously
yeah.
part of December, or 20th Century Fox's planning.
Yeah. Christmas movie.
All right.
I mean, it's a holiday classic.
I think the first time I saw it, we rented it. And the second time I saw it, they were actually playing it on TV on Halloween. So, much like Nightmare Before Christmas. It could work for either
it
one.
works for both, yeah.
There you go.
There you are.
4 stars.
Yeah, so, Justin, what would you give Edward Scissorhands?
I'd say 4 stars too.
Yeah, I'm going to give it 4 stars.
It's a work of art. Yeah. It's a great little piece of history, cinema. It's unlike... I mean... It owes a debt to cinema history, as we've said, but it's unlike anything else.
Well, I mean, Tim Burton made a movie before this for Disney, a short called Frankenweenie.
Yeah.
And then he remade Frankenweenie later in his career.
Yeah, he likes horror movies.
He likes Frankenstein.
Right. Yeah.
This is honestly that group of, like, the usual suspects that are in the Tim Burton, like the Tim Burton movies.
Yeah, like Kevin Spacey and
Benicio del
Toro
and
what's his
Gabriel
name?
Byrne.
Yeah.
But like
Chaz Palminteri.
I didn't know The Usual Suspects was Tim Burton.
surprise,
Baldwin.
as much of a twist as the ending is.
Chaz Palminteri.
Yep, I said Chaz Palminteri already.
Oh, sorry.
But this is like Johnny Depp, Danny Elfman, Tim Burton. This is all of them at their A game, and like more now they've just kind of like, kind of rolled out of the bed and been like, all right, let's be weird again and like make another movie. But this is them like you can really tell that they're putting all they have into whatever they do. Like you said, like this is the best score in a Tim Burton movie, and I fully agree with that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
Winona Ryder was in Frankenweenie. She's a voice, and Tim Burton or Johnny Depp's a voice.
Of course he is,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's got his grab bag of actors.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean it's Tim Burton is a tribute act to himself, playing casinos at regional portions of the country at this point.
Did you see that Mrs. Pedigree Home. No,
No.
I didn't even watch that one.
No. And he remade Dumbo that's coming out in the spring.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, it looks great. Like
I bet
they're
you know
expensive.
what? He probably will. That might be because he clearly does love Disney animated films.
I would love for him to have some sort of a rebirth, but he has had so many chances.
Yeah,
so many chances. I just feel like this is what he had to say, you know?
right.
He had
I remember
this to
going and
say.
seeing Mars Attacks and being like, "This is good, right? I love Tim Burton. I like this, maybe."
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, how many times did you do that?
Yeah,
with
Sleepy
a Tim
Hollow.
Burton movie?
I did it with Sleepy Hollow.
Big Fish? Did you go with Big Fish?
Yeah, I went and saw Big Fish. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Planet of the Apes?
I haven't seen Planet of the Apes.
You haven't?
No.
Oh,
That's supposed to be pretty bad, right?
It came on TV, and I did the thing where I just kind of sat there, but I never turned it off. But the entire time I was like, it just got weirder and weirder. And the culmination of it was, of course, Mark Wahlberg kissing Helena Bonham Carter in full makeup of an ape.
Right, yeah.
That could
Helena
work.
Bonham Carter, yeah.
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 He pulled her down into the muck with him, too.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. I mean, he could have a renaissance. It could happen. I would like to see that happen. But he has to. I think he has to do something totally different. Like he has to not spin his wheels because he already made it the perfect way. I mean, with this movie. Here's one last thing. We said 4 stars, but one last thing. Would you say that you will prefer this, or you prefer Nightmare Before Christmas, which they both have, become cult classics?
Well, I would almost still... You gotta say Nightmare Before Christmas. Harry Selick has some input on that. He was the director of Nightmare Before Christmas.
True.
So...
Yeah. But they have stuff in common.
Yeah, they have a lot of stuff in common, but...
It's Danny Elfman score and, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Danny Elfman even sings the singing parts of Jack Skellington.
That's right. Yeah.
Yep.
So, they have stuff in common.
Yeah.
I mean, I always was an Edward Scissorhands person. More
Yeah, I
than
would go with
a
Edward
Nightmare
Scissorhands
Before Christmas person.
Over Nightmare Before Christmas.
I never really got that Nightmare Before Christmas.
I went and saw Nightmare Before Christmas in the theater also just because of it was Tim Burton. And I was like, oh, this is a musical?
Yeah.
I wasn't ready for that.
Yeah.
So
At least there's talking in between the songs.
yeah, but I do appreciate it now. I just wasn't ready for it back then, and I remember being like, do I stay and watch this? I did.
Really? You really don't like musicals?
Well, no, I do like musicals. I just wasn't ready for it at that time. And
I've got bad news for you about Mary Poppins Returns.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Mary Poppins Forever is going to be a musical, too. And Mary Poppins and Robin.
They're going to reboot it with Mary Poppins Begins.
The Dark Mary.
The Dark
That's
Mary.
right, yeah, the Dark Mary universe.
The Dark Nanny.
Dark Nanny.
That's it.
Dark Nanny Rises.
Who is she for? Because they have to reboot it again and have her fight somebody.
Oh, that's true. It would be leading up to the
Superman,
Justice League.
I think you just do Superman versus Mary Poppins.
Yeah.
You know?
Dawn of Cleanliness.
Exactly. Well, all right. That was another episode of my so-called podcast.
Made of Steel.
Yeah, that's a good one.
All right. That's been another episode. Leave on a high note, I say. I've been Eric Spiegel.
I've been Gary Linton.
Thanks for coming, Justin.
Thank you for having me.
Keep yourself alive.